For this episode of Global Vision, we thought it might be interesting to look at the impact of pedagogical lineage on how we teach and how we learn. Today, I had a really beautiful conversation with one of my teachers, Scott Tennant, and my teacher's teacher, Pepe Romero. I have a deep affection for my pedagogical lineage, as I hope you do for yours. I hope that our walk down memory lane will serve as more than just a feel-good moment for the three of us, which it certainly was, but that it also might be a chance for guitarists everywhere to consider from whence you come, what values you've learned, what values you want to impart, and what kind of a legacy you'd like to leave for the generations who will follow.
My father was the first in his family to be a musician. My grandfather, he was an architect, and he went to work in Cuba with his wife, a daughter, and a son. And while in Cuba, they had 3 sons more. My father being the youngest. He was born in just within a month or 2 from his nephew. And my aunt died in childbirth. So my grandmother, she took care of both the son and the grandson. And my father was there for 5 years in Cuba. And then she couldn't stand the sadness of having lost the daughter, and she wanted to go back to her family, which was in Jotron. That's a village in the mountains of Malaga. Every month, she would go by mule to the town to receive the mail and money and things from her husband from Cuba. And in one of those trips, my father just fell in love. He saw a guitar. He wanted his mother to buy him a guitar. He fell in love with it. And he took the guitar with him to the mountains. In the mountain, there were only no great flamenco player came out of that spot. But the guitar was being played there. And of course, my father had heard the guitar in Cuba also, in Cuban music. But my grandmother had a lot, she loved classical music, and she had recordings of those days, the very early Segovia recordings and the Miguel Llobet recordings. She bought him a solfège book, whatever method that she could find, and some scores. And my father taught himself how to play there in the mountain. And when my grandfather came, he was maybe 10 years old, and they moved to Malaga where he could have his business. So they took the boy to be taking lessons at the conservatory. And the teacher was Jose Navas. And Jose Navas listened to my father and says, he already plays better than I do. And that was completely on his own, listening to records, and whatever he could, he taught himself how to read music. He overwhelmed the guitar teacher, who immediately called one of his best friends that was a student of Targa, Rogelio Molina. And I remember very well, Rogelio Molina was a student of Targa, and he was the host of Targa during his stay in Malaga. In the Targa biography of Ruth, there is an autograph copy, an autograph version of Recuerdos, signed Malaga and a date. So that was done in Molina's house. Molina was completely admiration and wonder how this little boy can play so well without any training. So he became a part of that inner circle of the students of Targa. So I personally remember that nearly every weekend, Don Rogelio would come over to the house, and he would come with his a thermo of coffee. I would listen to them talk and play, and Don Rogelio saying, the maestro did this way. He used to do this fingering. He did this. Like, one of the things that he said is that the maestro sometimes would play the second little descending run in the opening of Capriccio Árabe. He would play it an octave lower, which, if you remember, when I play Capriccio Árabe, I all the time play an octave lower, the repeat part. And things like that. And described a lot in very detail how the maestro used to do the tremolo and how he used to think about the tremolo. So I grew up listening to one of Targa's students talk a lot about Targa. He's the only one of his pupils that I personally met. I didn't meet the others. But my father had Emilio Pujol, was one of the ones that really took my father in. And so, back to the coffee, I used to steal his coffee when they were not watching. And I would drink the coffee. So, Scott, you're not only a direct descendant guitar player from the Targa school, but your coffee fondness has come also in direct line.
I felt a pull to the past somehow when I was developing my coffee addiction.
Yeah.
See, for us, the Targa school and his Targa as a teacher and his students are just kind of, to us, we never met any of them. They're all kind of in history books.
That's right.
And I'm wondering, is there any technical thread or musical thread that you see coming from them down to you?
Definitely. What I would think identifies my playing and that of my family and my father is the fact that how we release the string to make the sound is very direct. You take the string and you pull it, just like you would pull the bow on an arrow. And then you release the string so that it shoots out the sound. That's very, very much from the Targa school.
It definitely it creates its own personality, its own sound.
Yes, it does.
And I was wondering too, because I told you I was gonna, I've had fingernails on this hand since I was probably 9 years old. And I was going to cut them off, although I haven't quite cut them off yet, because I just want to see what that's like. I've seen you cut a couple players' nails off.
Yes.
In classes. There was a reason you did that, and I always wanted to experience that reason for myself. That touching of the string. How did Targa?
Yes, the connection, the awareness. What that develops is that awareness that when the string and the fingers, when they meet, and they know when they depart. And your fingers learn to have a control of their own, so that it's all completely instinctive and nothing that you have to think about. In the Targa school, most of the teachers started this because Targa, in his later years, played without nails. They all experienced that, and they wanted their students to start out, even if they grew nails later, they all started out without nails.
And did you also?
I did not have nails until I was around 9 years old. My first concert was without nails.
Well, that's the first thing I picked up from you when I first, and the story goes back a little further with my mom taking me to concerts and finally meeting you and finding out that you taught a class every year in Houston, a master class. So when I was 14, my mom took me to the first one. They let me go. And it was in that first class when I was 14 that I understood that way of playing. And so, but you realized early on that, at least for me, I picked up very fast just watching people.
Yes.
And so I would just watch you and you would just show me something and I would do it.
Yes.
And instead, because I was too young to understand metacarpal and interphalangeal.
No. Yeah. And you just did it like you had done it all your life.
I picked it up, just by imitating. So I understood by feeling right away what that was like. And so that's what immediately changed how I played.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm so glad it did.
Pepe, what struck you about Scott when you first heard Scott play?
His ability to let his personality, his being be transmitted by the music he was playing. He had such a loving, joyous spirit. And when he played, it flowed out of him. It was completely easy for him to transmit that. He was able to be playing, miss something, let it go, and continue playing great. And really a tremendous, both mental and physical way in which to unite with the guitar and transmit whatever feelings he was having. And basically, it was joy. And I think that Scott's playing has always had that inner joy. And I have seen him at moments when he is have gone through difficult times and been very sad. But even the sadness, when he plays something sad, it has an element of hope in it. That, to me, I recognize from the very, very beginning. And actually, I don't know if I ever told you, on that first masterclass, I had another student of mine, Robert Wetzel, who's slightly older than Scott, and he was going to give a concert at the Dallas Guitar Society. And Robert caught a flu or something, he got a high fever and he couldn't go. So they asked me, can you send somebody else to replace him? And I said, yes, of course I will. And I have just the right person. And I had just met Scott. How long? Nothing, like a week or a few days.
Yeah, a week or two most, yeah.
And I had only heard you play the Greek dance. Have you ever heard Scott play the Greek dance?
No, I don't think so.
Dimitri Fampas.
Okay.
Scott, you have to play for Martha.
I will. I'll play that. Absolutely. I was resurrecting that recently, actually. So yes.
Fabulous. Okay.
Yeah, it's a fantastic piece, and
But I was also playing a sword
so far,
minuet.
I had only heard him play that. So I called Scott and say, Scott, do you have enough music to play for an hour and a half? And he said, yes. So I said, okay, Scott is going to go and play your concert. And when Scott arrived, I got a panic call. You sent me a kid. You sent me a little boy to play. And I said, hey, wait a minute. He's not a kid. He's super kid. And then he played the concert and they called me back and said, yeah, you know what? He is super kid.
And thanks to you, I got my first experience of what every true musician does. You say yes first, and then you figure out the rest later.
That's right. Did you ever get paid?
I can't remember. It didn't matter at that point. I remember my mom was with me and she had to reroute our trip. But it was a blast. It was so much fun. And I went back the next year to play for her as well. So
he was taken by the magic of playing and the magic of music. And he was looking forward. Every time I saw him, he had that, let's see what mysterious, magical thing happens next. And I think I know that that's what keeps me playing after so many years, is that it has a mystery and a magic, and it's a way to receive and to send blessings.
Very true. I feel that the older I get, I feel that that's really where what makes music matter the most to me. And I got that totally from you. Is every time whenever I get really down or I feel like I can't play and I physically want to take a break or I get discouraged, I think, what would Pepe do? How would Pepe view this? And what would, and he would be, and I think, he would be totally joyous about it and be wanting to share that experience with anybody who'll listen,
One of the things that I really think about you, Pepe, when I see you teach, is that you're not just ever talking about only how we move through the string, but why we move through the string and how it feels and what we're listening to and what we're feeling. And I think of you as one of the most philosophical teachers we have, sometimes so deep that I have no idea what you're saying, but I feel it. What I'd really like to know is, do you think that you got some of that from your father, and did he get it from his people? Is that Romero special sauce?
Definitely. Like my father said to me many times, the guitar is one. The players, we are many. The guitarists, we are many. Mm-hmm. But when we play with a pure heart, then the great guitarist that is also just one come and plays through us. And when you feel the presence that the great guitarist is playing through you, is the same one that played through Soar, that played through Giuliani, that played through Targa, that played through anybody. It's not really how well we play, but how truthful we play. So I think from that school of music making, guitar as the object that we are enamored with, that magical sound that the guitar has, how many sounds it has, how many colors it has. And that camaraderie, fraternity, that unity that we need to feel with each other, that we forget very often we just get in this race, and we are racing against the career. And the career is something completely outside of the reason why we should want to play, why we play.
Did you ever fall victim to that racing for the career when you were younger? Before
Never.
you had all your wisdom? No, you've always been this wise.
No, it's not wisdom. It's not wisdom. I almost never heard my father talk about how bad somebody did something. It was always how beautiful he did this phrase, how beautiful he played that piece. And so it was that was just a way. And once you feel that, and also because I started playing as a child, I played with the heart of a child. And a child has not learned yet how to race against his career. That is one of the traits of that school of thinking. Unity among the players. Sharing. I remember when Narciso Yepes went on tour with a youth group to the United States as a young man, and how excited he was that he was given 3 sets of nylon strings in the United States. And the first thing he did was to call my father and give my father a set of nylon strings that wouldn't break in concerts. So that spirit of sharing, it was very, very strong in that group of people.
Sharing was always there. Even when I first met you at a concert when I was a little boy, the whole family was there. You know, of course, your father and mother, and then your kids and Celine's kids. Everybody was there, and I thought that's really something. And then when I came out to California and started obviously the classes with you at USC, but also once in a while when we break free and go down, drive down to your house a couple hours away, and it was a whole day affair. You know, like I get there at a certain time, you'd have your coffee, you'd be warming up yourself, you'd give me half an hour, I'm finishing practicing, so I would listen to you practice. And then we'd go to, let's say, Celine's house to do something. I would play, you would play, he would play, and then we'd go, and then at the end of the day, we'd be at your father's house.
Yes.
And everybody, you know, I was 18, and, you know, I would spend the whole day. I would go to the beach maybe if you were taking a little siesta. Then we'd come back and everybody would be there. And I remember one time, and this was a good lesson for me, because one time you said, come to my father's house at 7. Okay, so, you know, I'm kind of hanging around. I have my guitar. I'm practicing a little bit. I go to, again, walk along the beach, etc. And then at 7, I come to the house, but I had to get gas. I had gasoline on my hands, and, you know, and I thought, well, this is going to be fun. You know, I'm going to get to go and hang out with the family. So I get there and everybody was there. Everybody, you know, all the kids, everybody. And the first thing when I walk in is Celine says, there he is. And you said, play the Grand Overture. Or play the Grand Overture. Now, I just walked in with gas on my hands. You said, that's okay. Go ahead and play, you know? So I had to get in that frame of mind, like, you know, this is, I had to get out of my ego space and just play.
That's right.
And I noticed that people were just taking it in like it was breathing, like it was part of the room, just it was music was meant to.
Yeah, it was about getting out of the ego space.
Yeah. And you know what, even now it's very important because I think a lot of us, you're talking about career, Martha, and how we share and how we think about music, how we feel music. A lot of my friends right now that are having that issue of, a little depressed, I guess, because the concerts aren't happening. And what do I do? That's my identity.
Yes.
What am I supposed to do? And it rubs off very easily. Then kind of you get a little depressed, but whenever I do play, and my guitar is always out, I just leave it out. I pass by and I pick it up. Whenever I do sit down and play, nobody's hearing anything. But I instantly feel connected, like I'm plugging in.
Oh, yes.
I'm plugging into the network as soon as I hear the sounds and I feel the strings. I'm transported. And more than a lot of that comes from experiencing you and your family,
But you have to be open, and you are open. And Martha, you asked me about what did I feel of Scott when I met him. Do you know what impressed me about you?
No.
When I know that you were nervous. So even before you started to play, I started asking you about what did you think about music and how you feel it and what is this, and how quickly when you played and you were touched by the spirit of the music, how quickly you completely shed away the fears and you became united with your own soul. You connected to your own source of love and power.
Thank you. You have this way of making us all feel like we're part of your family.
But you are.
I know, because you've shown me that over and over. And
yes.
Scott, did you ever feel like you disappointed Pepe in a lesson? I'm just curious. Like weren't ready, you disappointed yourself.
Well, I'll be, thinking back, I've disappointed a lot of people.
Yeah.
Whenever I was ready to get a lesson or meet with Pepe in some respect, I would always at least have, questions and, inquiries. And I was always so fascinated by so many things about it that, if I wasn't ready to play something, or I would just say, I'm sorry, Maestro, I can't, I don't have it ready, but can we talk about this?
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say that sometimes I would show up all ready for a lesson. And Pepe, I talk about this to my students a lot, and Martha, I mentioned this to you too. You are very busy, and you were certainly very busy then, recording all of these concertos that were new at the time and all these pieces. And I would show up and you'd be practicing. And you would say, just give me 30 minutes or whatever. So for an hour or more, I would sit there watching you practice, which was a great lesson for me on how you applied discipline without diminishing any love for the music you were working on. So I got this impression that it was never stale to you. And so what I'm saying is that, yes, I probably was unready many times. I can actually let Pepe answer that, because he if I was, I put it out of my mind because I was so happy to be there. And I would always learn something.
With Scott, in lessons or as a friend, he's never disappointed me in any way. And Scott, as my student, always brought me incredible joy. And Casals said that teaching we learn a lot, and teaching Scott, I've learned a lot. So I feel that Scott is not my student, he's my guitar son. And I feel the same thing for you. So, and that's why your description of the guitar family is absolutely correct. Because in fact, that's what we are. The best thing for a teacher to do is to practice in front of a student. Get a new piece and learn it in front of your students. Teach them that you also have to build it. And I think by example, what I hope I have transmitted to the students is that I am in love with practicing slow. Then when you practice slow, you have to practice them, playing them beautifully and feeling the musicality. Just because a piece is a presto, and if you're practicing and you don't have it quite up in your mind or your fingers or whatever to play it presto, play it adagio, but make it a gorgeous adagio. And then it will speed up on its own. And many people are in a hurry, and they kind of, if it's a piece that needs to go fast and they're practicing slow, they forget to play it beautifully. And the tendency is just to play it just mechanically, just get it into their fingers and wait to make it beautiful for later. Because I have gotten so much pleasure out of playing, I want to get that pleasure whether I play it slow or fast, whether a piece is new or is an old friend. So it's always the connection to the guitar is to bring and to feel the beauty of the music at any level. So when a student watches the teacher actually work, then they can see, oh, what he's telling me or she's telling me, yeah, what Martha wants me to do is really what she does.
I remember when I met Martha. Martha, I don't know how old you were, but it was at the guitar
National Guitar Workshop.
National Guitar Workshop, and it's the first time I met you. Yeah. I think, yeah, you were a teenager, and you played, and I thought, wow, she's good. She's amazing. And she was Martha. I'm sorry, but you were very shy.
Very, very shy.
You were very shy, and but you picked up on things so fast, and so years went by. I would hear you play a little bit here and there, but then when you came out to California, and especially when you were doing your doctorate, your lesson was always the highlight of my week, because it was always kind of more of just sitting down. A lot of times we would just talk philosophically. We would talk a little bit about career. We'd talk a little bit, of course, about the music, et cetera. But it was always kind of just kind of a hangout, kind of a hang, and with mutual exchange. And I always really enjoyed that. You were a natural.
Oh, thank you. And I remember those days back at National Guitar Workshop, because that was in the 1980s, and you were writing Pumping Nylon. And not only did I have the chance to have masterclass lessons with you there, but you also were teaching a technique workshop that was basically pumping nylon in development, which I felt I still feel today like how lucky I was. I was there. You were like, there were like photocopies like made on a Xerox machine, smudged, of all the exercises that would go into pumping nylon. And we sat in that room with no air conditioning and sweated out.
Where was that, Martha?
This was in Connecticut in like 1986, 87, something like that.
Yep.
And yeah, I was there. And that relationship, that kind of getting to know you there, and sitting with you at lunch in the cafeteria and having that chance to develop that was what made me feel comfortable moving across the country where I had no family, to come out and be with you. And yeah, those early lessons.
Scott was your family.
He was my family. Exactly. It wasn't scary because I had Scott, right?
Exactly.
And then I came and I became part of the guitar family at USC, which was thanks to, what you've created and what you've contributed, Pepe. But yeah, Scott, I remember those lessons early on. I remember, some of the really kind of phenomenal career advice, because at the time that I got to you, I had done a lot of great work. I had a great teacher before you. I had worked with Manuel, and I played all my life, but I kind of still didn't know what the heck I was doing, and I had no confidence, and I couldn't figure things out. And yeah, you had this very beautiful thing about you that I think you got from Pepe about, well, you just go play, and people will enjoy it, and it really helped me to reframe how I looked at playing, and your model of how you had come up and I think also that you had come up in Los Angeles, and that I was trying and figure out how to make a career in Los Angeles. I think that really helped me. I remember you talking about goal setting, and it really sat with me, and I still pass that on to my students. I didn't have really any speed when I reached you, and so I learned a lot about the touching the strings that I got from you, that you got from Pepe, right? There was so much that I got there, and then Pepe. I remember one of the master classes that there's still a line. I'm quoting Scott all the time, but I quote you too, Pepe, that one of your master classes, it was, you weren't talking to me, you were talking to someone else, and they asked you, how do you play so fast? And you said in your fabulous accent, which I won't pretend to imitate. Scott doesn't Pepe, but maybe Scott, you can repeat it after I say it, but you said, it's not about how fast you can play. It's about how fast you can relax. Yes.
But that's the essence of it.
Right. And I say that so many times, because I think, we're all kind of obsessed with that, but really you have to release the tension in order to get back to the string. And then as soon as you're there, you can play it again.
That's right. But you have to have released it. You have to relax.
Right.
It is absolutely correct.
When you say
it's absolutely correct.
Well, good, because you said it.
And what is an incredible work, and I would recommend to all young players, to all players of any ages. I do it because I love to do it, but to play flamenco. Mm. Just because you're a classical player doesn't mean you cannot have great rasgueados. And you cannot get great rasgueados without learning how to relax your hand, and you get strong, and you have a real sensation of doing this versus doing this, extending or contracting, and have the independence of it. And possibly one of the things that I really think helped Scott a lot was going to study flamenco with Juan Serrano, brilliant maestro of the guitar.
That's true. You
Yeah.
recommended him. Yeah. You said, oh, he's living in Detroit. And yeah. And so I looked him up in the phone book back in when we had to have a phone book. And I just took a guess at which Juan Serrano. I called every Juan Serrano until I got one that goes, hello. and I thought this must be him. And it scared me so much I hung up. and then I did kind of one of those. And so I called back and I said, I'm sorry, Maestro Juan Serrano. And so then I arranged lessons, but it was your introduction.
Yes. And he's a sweet man. He's a very nice, wonderful.
Incredible. Oh, he's just the best. He's so sweet. And yeah.
We keep very much in touch almost every week.
Nice.
Have you played flamenco, Martha?
I have not. And, so this was one of the things when I arrived with Scott, I would watch him in lessons. And Scott, like you said about Pepe, how you would go and you would learn by watching, right? I learned from our conversation, but I learned so much just by watching your hands. And my guitar's coming out of the case or going back in the case, and you're just sitting there noodling. You're just enjoying yourself because you enjoy playing the guitar, right? And I remember seeing Raschiatos and hearing the power. I had nothing like that. And I studied Raschiatos with you while I was there, and they got better. I got nothing on you guys, but they got better. And then I remember also from the lessons, I remember hearing you, and this one blew my mind, hearing you noodle, like improvise little ornaments in any style. At the time you had, kind of released that Celtic, what was the Celtic CD? What was that called? Celtic?
Wild Mountain Time.
Wild Mountain Time.
The CD, yeah.
Oh, what a phenomenal recording that was. And so you were I was studying with you shortly after that was released. And so you kind of had a lot of that style of music and you would noodle around in there, but then I would hear you noodle around with Bach and improvise ornaments in the same way, but it was appropriate to the Baroque style. But it had this this character about it that I would always know it was you. And I remember thinking, gosh, I just need to do that more in my own playing. I need to explore. I need to just do it for the joy of it and for the sound of it, and not be concerned about if it's perfect. Yours usually were, but it felt so free that I loved that. And then my third memory of you that inspired me so much didn't come in the classroom, but Scott, it came in your favorite Mexican restaurant, Lares, that we go to all the time. And so one of us had just gotten a new guitar and wanted Scott to check it out. And Scott gets out the guitar out of the case. He's standing up, props one foot up on the chair, and then just tears into Recuerdos. And it's like the best tremolo. I mean, you could have just put a microphone in front of it, recorded it. And it was just, standing up in a bar with a bunch of people around is noisy. And it just, it was, wow.
Well, I actually do remember that. I was scared to death that somebody would bump me. And I made it a really short thing just so I could, but I do remember that actually.
That was your scared tremolo? Now I feel really sad.
Quite scared, yeah.
You see?
Sometimes scared is good.
It was really good. But it kind of made me, I had played tremolo pieces before, but it really made me think back to the preparation. I was like, why does his tremolo sound so good?
Well defined, yes.
It's because I watched Pepe.
All individual notes.
Mm-hmm.
But
honestly,
you have a tremolo, Martha.
You have a great tremolo, yes.
You have a wonderful tremolo.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask you for a gift, both of you.
Okay. So the answer is yes. Scott already knows that the answer has to be yes. Covered that.
Well, no, the answer can be no if you don't want to. Make up a flamenco duo that uses tremolo and rasgueados and scales.
A flamenco duo. And Scott and I are playing this.
Of course. I'm not playing it.
Okay.
I'm listening. It's a gift for me.
I might be calling you for some suggestions there, Pepe.
And I want exactly where you're going to present it is after either your house or Scott's, after a meal, a Mexican dinner.
Game on. I think
That's a deal.
that's the best.
Okay, my friends.
Okay, Maestro.
Well,
Bye, Martha.
For a beautiful conversation that was enlightening. I appreciate and love and respect you both so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Same
We
here.
feel
Thanks, Martha.
you, Martha.
All right. We'll see
We
you
love
later.
and respect you very much.
No, thank you.
Take care.
Thanks for setting this up.
Yeah. Stay healthy, stay safe, okay?
Thank
See you
you.
again soon. Bye-bye now.
Guys.
Bye.